There's so much information out there, it's difficult to know what's real and what's not. Up until now, I've been given a kind of social commentary on what's going on. But you may have noticed a theme to everything that I've been talking about. In the first video, we were talking about the COVID COP crisis, and we were talking about how the COP's stress management and their kind of reactive nature. In the next video we spoke a little bit about 5G, and again people's reactive nature, how past experiences and traumas can stay with us throughout our adult lives. We also spoke a little bit about what we're consuming and what we're trying to achieve by our consumption. In the next video, I spent some time at the tree and we spoke about brainwaves and resonance. And in the latest video, we were speaking about Netflix as a metaphor for life and virtue versus sin, the innate selfishness in humans and our inherent fallibility. So, I want to talk a little bit about my mission. When I was thinking about how I might conduct myself in these videos and the kind of projection that I wanted to portray, I see that a lot of people like to follow emotionally charged discussions and rants, and people will jump on any conspiracy. And like anybody, I've enjoyed many a conspiracy in my years as a free thinker. But in these times, I feel like these alternative viewpoints and even the mainstream viewpoints, actually most of the news that's out there right now is almost irrelevant. Yes, it's good to keep up to date with what's going on to a degree to figure out how it's affecting you and your immediate surroundings. However, following every small, minute detail and getting wrapped up in the process, I feel, is not the answer right now. People are generally looking outside for answers, and nobody really seems to know who to trust, specifically in this time. What I'm here to suggest to you is that all the answers you need you can find inside yourself. And what I'm proposing is that over the next coming days, weeks, maybe even months, is that I'll start a story and begin a journey and progressively share the knowledge that I've come to learn and processes that I've come to use to help to liberate myself from the mess that is going on all around. So I want to start with really basic introductory techniques, and as we move on, progressively expand on those techniques and build upon those, and you can follow along and take what you need and hopefully empower yourself to be in a position where you could make better decisions in life and where you could be in full control over your emotions and your physiology. The things that I share are widely available online for the most part. However, I've spent almost a decade now deep diving into far-reaching subjects. I've trained with martial arts schools from China and yogic schools from India. I'm getting quite deep into shamanism right now. I've touched on Christianity and Buddhism and a little bit of Taoism, loads of New Age stuff, Reiki and all that kind of stuff, and even deeper into things like angels and dragons and mythological stuff, and deep in the psyche and interdimensional space beings and entheogenic plants, and the list goes on, and we probably will at some point start to unpack that, and I'll share with you people who I've come across, who I really liked, who were very informative and who helped change my life, and maybe you could find some benefit in that too. But the reason I decided that I wanted to do these kind of series of videos is that there's so much information out there, even in the self-help world, is that it took me years to get to where I'm at now, and there was a lot of refining, there was a lot of stuff that I had to sift through, and to be honest, I feel like I wasted quite a lot of time. Well, maybe it wasn't wasted time, but I spent a lot of time sifting through this stuff, and if I could remove the filler and the jargon and the kind of the sales and the stories and the almost like the egos, even the spiritual world and the self-help world is full of egos. So if I could just remove all that and unpack that and just come at you from a really practical perspective and say, here's some real life situations where I'm seeing X, Y and Z happening, and here are 1, 2, 3 ways where we can start to channel into that and tap into what's going on, remove ourselves from that situation and untangle it. And you'll see through this process, if you follow the steps, that your life will slowly begin to change. Something I recognised that what was happening to me in the past was that every time I tried new things or went to new places, the same issues would keep appearing, but just with different faces. And through that process, I started to think to myself, actually, wait a minute, what is the one factor throughout all of these experiences? And it was me. I was the only factor, the only continuous factor throughout these different times and spaces, which led me to start to consider that maybe on some level that I was creating these situations. So this was quite hard to accept at first. However, the more I've started to listen to that and to tune into that and to attempt to perceive the lessons, the very rapidly you begin to move through them. And so, how much it's helped me, and how much outside of that the community and people generally have helped me, just something I came to realise was that we actually need people. You know, something that I came to realise quite a while ago. I used to have this vision and this dream of, you know, getting away and escaping society. And, you know, I romanticised it quite a bit. But when I boiled it down and distilled it, and I took some short adventures, and I ended up in some places where I was on my own, and I got myself into some situations where I was up shit creek, you know. And what I realised was that no matter where you go, you're always going to be dependent on other people. Unless you're a mountain man who can survive in the forest with a knife and a water bottle, you know. If you can do that, fucking crack on. But for everybody else, my suggestion is that the more we can focus on working on ourselves, the greater the effect we can have on the world around us. And it is such a simple process. It can get messy at times, and it's not always easy, but the process itself is simple. With a little bit of setting up and consistency and minimal amounts of time in the first instance, you could really start to see massive changes in your own internal world and in the world around you. Make no mistake, inside you is a world. There's a whole reality going on inside you. Often people will say, you know, I hurt my foot, or they'll say something like, I have problems with my, name the organ, heart problems, lung problems. And it's almost like people externalise their internal body parts, which is something that I find a little bit strange, you know? And people right, left and centre having disease within them, getting bits of the body just chopped off, you know? And it's become really normalised. And what I would like to suggest is that not to let it get to that stage before we start to think about what do we do with this body, this vessel that we're living in. Of course, we are not our body. You know, if you remove your hand, you still are you. If you remove your arm, you still are you. At what point, when you remove bits of this meat suit, do you stop being you? Well, nobody really knows. What I would like to do is begin the process of tuning into, in the first instance, your body. And I was going to do a short meditation here, but I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a meditation in the next video, and it's going to be a specific meditation video. It'll be a very basic meditation. It'll be 5 minutes, basic setting up, basic focus. Anybody could do it, anybody could join in. It's totally demystified, and we'll maybe work with that process for like a week. And what would be really cool is if before we do any of the meditation, if we could sit down and maybe write something about yourself, about how you're feeling generally, some of the problems that you're facing, some of the things you'd like to work with or let go of, physical pain that you might have in your body, how your sleep is. I'd like you to write some of this down, a wee story about your life and where it's at right now. And then in a week after following the practice, we could do a review. And hopefully what we could do is start to build evidence within your life specifically that this practice and these practices have a positive effect. So there's no convincing from my part. The first meditation will be 5 minutes. It'll be 5 minutes a day for a week. If you don't start to see the benefits of the meditation, then don't continue the next week. And yeah. So I'm here in the park. I've deliberately distanced myself today from most news, and I want to just share an interesting little story now, seeing as it's like 11:30 at night and there's a police van driving past. So we talk about social distancing and we're talking about the NHS a lot and the PPE. And on the way to the park tonight, as I was coming round the corner, maybe 100 metres away, there was four police officers standing at the entrance to the park, all huddled together, like, you know, with 1 metre between the lot of them, you know, really close together, pardon me. And there was a big cloud of, you know, I don't know if you could see it, but it's kind of like damp in the air. And there was no social distancing going on, nobody had masks on. And, you know, that part of me that is a little bit reactive to the police after the general treatment I've experienced from them over the years. Not all police, but some police that just have had this effect where there's this reactive nature. So in the first instance I was thinking to myself, well, get your camera out, you know, take a picture of these so-called professionals, you know, breaking the social distancing rules, fucking hypocrites. And maybe call them out, maybe go over with the camera and shove it in their faces and, you know, get some fucking clickbait. But actually I thought to myself, you know what, they're people too, and what's the fucking point, you know? So maybe rather than being confrontational like this and trying to provoke a reaction, I could offer some tools, and maybe even they could be used by members of the police force too. So why they're not wearing masks, I don't fucking know, you know. Of course you're not going to expect them to be 2 metres away from their partner. That would be ridiculous. That would mean one of them would have to be in the back in the cage. Anyway, so yeah, stay tuned. Meditation coming tomorrow. It is, what day is it today? Friday the 10th of April at 5 to 12 at night. I am the Rambling Madman, checking out. Good night.